Hey, what is up, guys? What's up, YouTube? Rules for Rebels here with episode 23 of Side Hustle Tuesdays. I realize it's Wednesday, guys. I'm a day late. I apologize. I was sick all weekend. I think I got food poisoning or something, so I literally had a really crappy weekend. Pardon the pun. So I know I'm a day late. Sorry about that, but I think you guys are really going to love today's story. So today's story is about a guy who decided to do a little DIY project on his roof using slate as the material he was going to work with, and actually stumbled upon a really amazing business opportunity and side hustle idea. So I really liked today's story. I really connected with today's story as it's something artistic, it's something creative, and it's somebody working with their hands and doing something they love, which I think is really cool about any side hustle. So recently, and kind of why I connected with this, I saw a Pottery kick wheel for a good price the other day on the OfferUp app and was considering grabbing it. And while I haven't done any pottery probably since grade school, it looks fun, and I'm also somewhat inspired by this YouTuber and Facebook potter named Joel, who makes these really cool cosmic coffee mugs. He has a huge following, and from the looks of it, is making a pretty good buck doing something he loves. I'll link to his channel and his site in the description box below if you want to check him out. I think I may have talked about him on a previous episode of Side Hustle Tuesdays, and I may have even shown off some of his work, but the guy really understands sales and marketing and how to create a buzz online. And the fact that he does these live streams really allows his audience to connect with what he's doing and really makes them want to support him. I think it also allows him to sell his mugs for way more money than most people would normally be willing to spend on a coffee mug. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he also holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the most pots thrown in, I don't know, a minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, something along those lines. So talk about knowing how to create a buzz. If you see a video of the world's fastest potter, are you telling me you're not going to go check out his site or Google him and check out his pottery? Anyhow, guys, that's something that I've been kind of digging lately and was kind of inspired by. So that's why this story really connected with me. But any of you guys who are into like making things with your hands or crafting, I think will really love today's story. So without further ado, let's get into it. So today's story is about Andrew Church from Waterford, Pennsylvania. One day, Andrew got an email confirmation of a sale stating that he sold an item on Etsy and had money in his Etsy account. And at first he figured it must be a mistake. He never really expected his handmade cutting boards to sell, but sure enough, a stranger had seen his item, liked it, and bought it. So long before he started his side hustle, Andrew had always been both curious and ambitious, two great skill sets or attributes to have when it comes to being an entrepreneur. Obviously ambitious, so you can go after your goals and so you're motivated, but also creative and curious so that you're always curious and always exploring new ideas and new opportunities. So as a day job, Andrew is an industrial engineer for GE, and he also referees wrestling matches on evenings and weekends, as he used to be a wrestler in high school and college. Now, Andrew is also pretty crafty and handy. He likes making things with wood and doing things with his hands and crafting. So one day he decided, just for his own house, to make a little design for his roof, and he decided to experiment with slate. Now, he was going to cut out the slate and sort of design like, I don't know, sort of like a sign for his roof that was his last name. And honestly, he thought that would be the end of it. It was just going to be a personal project for himself. However, once he bought the saws and actually started working with the slate, he realized what a versatile material it really was. Now, Andrew lives in Pennsylvania, so he decided to start out, he would make his first, item be a cutting board cut out in the shape of his home state of Pennsylvania. And that's how he wound up on Etsy with those cutting boards that we referred to earlier that wound up selling. Now, obviously, the email we talked about wasn't a glitch. He actually did make a sale, and a few days later, he made another, and another, and another, and the sales continued to roll in. And as he continued to mess around and experiment in his off hours, he wondered how he might be able to expand this business. He was from Pennsylvania, so it made sense his first cutting board would be of the state of Pennsylvania. But all of a sudden it hit him. Duh, there's 49 other states, many with much larger populations than Pennsylvania, so the logical next level of expansion would be to make cutting boards for other states, California, New York, Illinois, Florida, so forth and so on, and this brought him more customers and a more diverse customer base. Now after that, he began making cutting boards for other countries as well, and after that he got into various product lines and tested out different product lines, everything from coasters to earrings to all types of other things, again, all made out of slate. Most recently, Andrew has made about $10,000 from his new side hustle, and this whole thing happened as a complete side hustle outside of his 9 to 5 job This happened with little to no startup money outside of buying the initial tools and the slate material, which he was already going to buy for personal use to make this craft for his roof anyhow. And with pretty much no risk, totally bootstrapped, he got this side hustle up and running outside of his 9-to-5 job. Now, one other thing I really like about this story is it highlights another important thing about side hustles. It's not just about the money, it's about the freedom of choices that having multiple revenue streams gives you. I regularly get emails from people who have recently lost a job and are understandably freaking out. And if someone had a side hustle, regardless of how big or how small or how well established, a job loss can actually not only be less scary, but can even be an opportunity as opposed to a tragedy. So Andrew, as I told you, worked for GE. His division, the engineering division, had been transferring a lot of people to work in other states. And they asked Andrew if he'd like to transfer to Chicago. Now, he didn't really want to leave his home state of Pennsylvania. He liked it there, all his friends and family were there, but he was also kind of scared to say no. What if his job in Pennsylvania was going away and this quote-unquote offer was basically, if you want to keep your job, move to Chicago? Because Andrew had a bit of side income and because his business was growing, it gave him the confidence to tell his employer, GE, that he didn't want to move and wasn't interested in taking the transfer. He wound up getting to stay in his home state, and had it not been for the side hustle and that added little bit of confidence and security, he may have felt obligated to take the transfer. Again, another awesome benefit of side hustles is it gives you more freedom of choices. So as far as the lessons that we can learn from this story, what can you take away from it? When Andrew wanted to grow his product lines, it made sense if he was selling cutting boards to one state, he may as well offer all states. And that was pretty cut and dry. But he also expanded into other product lines, from coasters to earrings to all types of other, different crafts made out of slate. Now, not every one of them worked out, but the only way that he would know that is by offering those product lines and see if people responded and bought them. And this brings up another interesting point. What people say they like and what people are actually willing to open their wallets and support by actually spending money are two completely different things. If I designed a new product, maybe a new hat or a new sweater, and went around asking people, hey, do you like this? A lot of people would probably say yes, and that's great, but it doesn't really matter. What actually matters is if someone is actually willing to open up their wallets and spend money on your product or service. So the only way you're going to find that out is by offering that product or service, and that's what Andrew did. Not everything worked out, like I said, but he experimented with different things. And okay, earrings sell great, coasters not so well. Cutting boards sell great, but, slate bath mats don't sell great. So only by offering those things would Andrew actually know that. So these days, Andrew is beginning to set up his own website where he can sell slate crafts, which brings us to the next lesson we can take away from this story. Andrew started out on an existing platform, that being Etsy. Third-party platforms or existing platforms such as Etsy, eBay, Amazon can be a great way to start. When you're focusing on building and growing a business, it can be overwhelming working on that, and at the same time trying to learn how to design a website, how to use WordPress, how to use Shopify, which payment processor do I choose, how do I get shipping accounts set up so I can ship my stuff to customers. By starting out on a third-party platform like Etsy, they have the site designed for you, they have the payment processor set up in place, and you get all their existing traffic that's already browsing on the site looking to buy things. Andrew had a great product and it sold great on Etsy because of all their organic traffic that they would send him. But had Andrew started off on his own website right from the get-go, chances are probably nobody would have even discovered his slate crafts in the first place. So by starting out on an existing platform like Etsy, Andrew was able to get rolling in an easier and more controlled way since Etsy handled a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of web design and payment processing. And they also had a large audience of buyers already searching for craft items. Once Andrew had started to make a name for himself and give his crafts kind of better known, it's smart to move on his own website like he's doing right now. While sites like eBay, Amazon, and Etsy can be a great boost to starting out, you really want to have more control over your business. You want to have the contact information and a relationship with your customers so that you can continue to market to them yourself, and not just be reliant on them coming to you through Amazon or Etsy or eBay. You'll also keep a lot more of your money since you're not paying, final value fees to these third-party platforms. And this kind of stuff can happen over time, but Etsy created a great springboard for Andrew to start his business. But now that he's kind of established, it makes sense to move on over to his own platform. And that's something that we talk about a lot. Don't be reliant on third-party platforms. While eBay or Amazon or Etsy can be a great place to launch a business, they may no longer allow your items to be sold. They may, suspend your account. They may change their search algorithm. All these things outside of your control can happen that wind up sinking your business. And if you have your own website, you're not nearly as affected by those things. So anyhow, guys, that is today's story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I really enjoyed today's story and really connected with it. For any of you guys who make handmade crafts, whether you're making beer can wind chimes, cornhole games, or anything else for that matter, give it a try. Set up an Etsy account, throw up some listings, and see what happens. You may surprise yourself, and you may find that your products develop a loyal following and take off just like Andrew's. And one little side thing, kind of a little bit off topic here, but I know a lot of you guys are going hard with Amazon merch right now. If you're looking to get your t-shirts out in front of more eyes, you may want to consider throwing your Amazon merch t-shirts up on Etsy. If they actually sell on Etsy, just essentially go use Amazon merch to drop ship that item to your Etsy customer. But you could potentially mark up the t-shirt on Etsy and make a couple bucks in kind of an arbitrage way. And also you're helping boost the sales of your Amazon merch shirts, which in turn is going to help you get better search ranking and sell more. So, this video is more about the handcrafted stuff, but I know a lot of people are doing pretty well listing their Amazon merch shirts on Etsy. And since we're talking about Etsy, I figured that would be, I thought that would be worth mentioning as well. So anyhow, guys, hope you guys enjoyed today's side hustle story. Hope you were inspired by it. And until next time, Rules for Rebels with episode 23 of Side Hustle Tuesdays, signing off.